there's an awful lot about the new framework that is to be welcomed by teachers. Firstly, I think the acceptance that teacher workload is a crucial issue. We live in an era of recruitment and retention crisis. So the fact that Ofsted is accepting that workload is a key issue, I think is very, very positive indeed. I think the repetition of the statement in, I think it was the 2017 framework, that they are no longer looking for a specific style of teaching is also to be welcomed, that it's left to the professional judgment of the teacher to choose the style, the methodology that works with a certain group of kids or with a certain topic. That is a good thing. They are no longer specifically looking for the 3-part lesson or writing objectives on the board. If the teacher wants to be didactic and chalk and talk, or if they want to be more child-centred, fine, as long as it is effective. That now the criteria is that the teaching method is effective, and that I think is what it should be. It should be left to the professional decision of the teacher. Thirdly, I think repeating again the importance of high standards of behaviour and discipline in schools. No school can improve unless it has a good behaviour policy. And I think what will be very reassuring to heads, particularly those heads who have to run difficult schools or schools where behaviour is an issue, there is the statement that exclusion is a vital measure. And having been the head of a very difficult school myself, and having had to use exclusion, obviously it needs to be used sparingly, it needs to be used appropriately. But I think that reassurance for heads that it is a measure that is vital in the toolkit for building a good behaviour policy in school and maintaining behaviour policy in maintaining behaviour in school, I think is very reassuring. I think also the emphasis in the new framework of character and the development of the whole child is also to be welcomed. Not just looking at what goes on in the classroom, but also looking at extracurricular activities and the wider life of the school, I think is to be welcomed. Certainly during lockdown, I think we have seen a different side to Ofsted. We have seen a different approach, and we've certainly seen a different language. So during lockdown, they have obviously been undertaking these visits to schools to look at remote learning, to look at preparations for reopening. But if you just look at the language that is being used with these visits, not inspection, visits, it's very different. There's talk of visits, there's talk of collaborative conversations. We are not trying to catch schools out. We want a constructive conversation, and we share the same aim. Now that sort of very professional dialogue is, I think, new and to be welcomed. It may be now the time to actually look again at the Ofsted approach. And what, apart from during lockdown, what is the Ofsted approach? Well, for most schools, of course, it's what's sometimes been termed as banging on the chicken shed, that Ofsted will visit once every 4 years. Everyone panic. It'll be a period of intense pressure. It will then result in a fairly bland report, and they'll go away and not come back for 4 years. The framework states in one breath that they want equal ambitions for academic, technical and vocational courses. Now, when I first read that, I thought, great, for the first time in 60 years, the first time since the Newsom report of 1963, we're actually going to start valuing proper vocational courses. But then almost in the next breath, the report, the framework goes on to say that they expect a strong academic core at Key Stage 4, and the framework repeats the very ambitious government target that by 2025, 90% of year 10s will be following the EBAC. Now, how you balance those two, having a very strong academic core, but at the same time developing practical and vocational courses, I'm not sure. And I'd throw into that melting pot their attitude also to the national curriculum. The framework makes it clear that schools that don't follow the academies that don't follow the national curriculum must have a curriculum that is of similar breadth an ambition to the national curriculum. So Ofsted is still expecting or seeing the national curriculum as the benchmark. That, to be honest though, this is not Ofsted's role to decide what the curriculum should be. Ofsted, of course, is the inspectorate. What we are suggesting is that schools devise a fairly succinct self-evaluation form and they gear that specifically to the new framework. You itemise the issues in the framework, the 12 issues that are looked for, and then in your self-evaluation you record what you're doing strongly, what you're doing well, and where you need to do additional work. No more than 6 or 7 sides long. And the reason why, at the most, and the reason why I say that is because heads need a document to have on their desk that instantly gives them all the details for the school's strengths and weaknesses, to have those details there at hand for when that 90-minute phone call occurs. But also, if the document is only 6 or 7 pages long at the most, it's a document that is manageable for all staff to be aware of and to be conversant with, and also all governors. And we remember that, of course, most governors are not educationalists. Most do not have the time to know a school inside out. So to have the school's strengths and areas for development linked to the Ofsted inspection and highlighted in a few pages, I think is an invaluable tool.